right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 12 of Talks with V. I'm super excited about tonight's topic. This evening, we will be talking about knowing your value, discussing the topic on knowing your value. And this evening, we also have an amazing panel of women who are confident and ready to talk about value. As a woman of color, many times we are overlooked and underappreciated. Doing for others in our community, our family, and restless hours with work. But through all of the contributions, we are still taken for granted many times. I think that being a woman can be a thankless job, but does it have to be? And so that's the question in knowing your value. So, what does that mean to know your value? Knowing your value, it helps you to make decisions, take actions, and focus on moving towards the life that you want to live. All right. And I know that the guests that we have this evening know a little something about that, being go getters themselves. And so at this time, I would like to, introduce our panel of queens here and give you an opportunity to share with the audience who you are. And so they know a little bit about you before we get into our questions. And so first, let's go with Nikki. Nikki, thank you so much for being here with us this evening. We're so super excited to have you. All of you have a lot of valuable information and little gems and nuggets. You know, we're always dropping gems on the Talks with V show. And so I'm super excited to see what it is that you have for us tonight. And so, Nikki, if you could introduce yourself and tell the people a little bit about you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, V. I'm actually very excited to be here and to jump into this conversation, especially in the month of June. So first, I'd just like to say happy Pride to everyone, all of those tuning in, and happy Juneteenth. So I am Nikki Glaze. I identify with numerous alternative lifestyles. For example, I'm a practicing Nichiren Buddhist. I'm LGBTQIA+. Polyamorous / ethical non-monogamous, kink BDSM practitioner and educator, and so on and so forth. But I'm also a clinical mental health counselor in training and a human design reader, as well as a budding entrepreneur, an intuitive empath as a life and spirituality coach. And my brand, Mosaic Design, spelled with a Q. So that's MOSAIQ. Mosaic Design and all of really the counseling and healing work that I do is focused on liberating the Black community. And I do that through counseling, coaching, and helping others decondition from our traumas so that we're able to step into wholeness as our full, authentic, and valid selves. I'm available on social media under Nikki A. Glaze on Facebook, Instagram, and Clubhouse. And my brand, Mosaic Design, can be found on Facebook, Instagram, Clubhouse, as well as www.yourmosaic.design.com. So thank you so much. And I'm excited to talk with all of you this evening.
Awesome, awesome. And we do give you time at the end too to, plug, give it your information and contact of how we can contact you. So thank you so much for sharing that ahead of time. We'll make sure that we post it as well towards the end. And next, we have Ms. Nicole. I'm so excited that you made it with us tonight. I'm happy to have you here. Me and you have had discussions about this, and so I'm excited that you were able to make it. So, Ms. Nicole, if you could tell the people about yourself.
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. My name is Nicole Lorenzetti. I've been a licensed esthetician for over 25 years, and I have a skincare company here in Cary, North Carolina, a skincare studio that I run, and I've had that for about 16 years. I'm also a licensed real estate broker here in North Carolina. So I'm more on the investment side of real estate.
Okay.
Invest myself, and I like to help others with, investments, long-term investments, setting up things for their children, and they can pass down, through their families, because that's what I'm working on. And I just like to educate people on business and growth and wellness and skincare and just, all things healthy lifestyle, really.
Awesome.
All my handles later.
Yes, with that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. We'll be coming up in future show talking about finances. So that's awesome. I might have to have you come back to talk about that as well. And last but not least, Ms. Shawnee. Thank you so much for being here. Shawnee is a good friend and a fine friend to the show. And so let the people know a little bit about Ms. Shawnee.
Well, yes, my name is Shoni. Thank you so much, V, for having me on the show. Thank you so much to the HBCU Lounge Network as well. I'm a singer-songwriter. I'm also a podcast host. I host the Beauty and Soul podcast, and I'm the owner of Beauty and Soul Apothecary and the owner of Soulfully Written Productions, where we do audio engineering and vocal production work. And I'm just happy to be here.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being here. And we're going to go ahead and get into these questions. But before we do that, a question that has come up to me, I've been asked from several different men outside of social media, just people that I know that I guess thought that I can give them a good answer. They have been hearing about this quote from Malcolm X. And so I wanted to share that quote and then get you ladies' perspective on the quote and how do you feel about it, or how does it make you feel? And so this quote is from Malcolm X in 1962. And so we're going to go ahead and play that now.
The most disrespected person in America is the black woman. The most unprotected person in America is the black woman. The most neglected person in America is the black woman. And as Muslims, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us to respect our women and to protect our women. Then the only time a Muslim really gets real violent is when someone goes to molest his woman. We will kill you for our woman. I'm thinking it plainly, yes. We will kill you for our woman. We believe that if the white man will do whatever is necessary to see that his woman gets respect and protection, then you and I will never be recognized as men until we stand up like men and place the same penalty over the head of anyone who puts his filthy hands out to put in the direction of our women.
Very, very powerful speech, and just that small segment, spoke volumes. And so coming from a woman, I definitely would agree with that. The segment, that the most disrespected, unprotected, and neglected person is a Black woman in this country. And so when that question came to me from fellow friends, male friends, they really were scratching their head like, is this true? Like I've been hearing this, it's been coming up lately, and they had never heard it before and they didn't understand it. And so I have my feedback on it, but I would like to hear from you ladies, and I'll share mine after. And so Nicole, if you could share with us your perspective on that quote.
Yeah, I think that, a lot of things and responsibilities and weight is thrown on Black women's shoulders. And I think that for so long, we've just picked it up and carried it. We just, we don't set it down. We don't give it to somebody else. We don't ask for help. Um, I don't know. I don't know where that comes from. It's, it's in our DNA at this point. We're just like, I'm going to handle it and I'll take care of it, especially when we have children. It's just this mama bear kicks in, and, we will just carry anything that is thrown upon us. I think that the tides are changing now. I think that we're tired, and we don't want to carry as much as we have been. Especially when it comes to other people's stuff. We have enough of our own stuff that we have to carry and that we have to work through. And I think that, the tides are changing now, that, we are asking for help. We are offloading, some of the weight, and rightfully so. But yes, I do agree with that. I think that, for too long, too much has been put on our shoulders, for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that, Nicole. Thank you so much for sharing. And Miss Nikki, share with us your perspective on this.
Sure. I think, there's pretty much going to be a consensus here of I agree. I do like placing context, though, however, on an individualistic level, I think that's where the confusion happens, and maybe the inspiration behind why you're getting these questions from Black men. Because on an individualistic level, people think of themselves, right? Well, what I do, or what I try to do, is revere that Black woman as my sister, my mother, my daughter, my auntie. And I have been on the receiving end of respect and love and protection, and reverence, right, from Black men and men and women of differing ethnicities. But when we expand the context to think generally, historically, socially, absolutely, there's a very firm and strong history in American society of erasing the Black woman's personhood, erasing the Black woman's agency and autonomy, while at the same time capitalizing off of our strengths and our gifts and putting us in position to be workhorses, but not letting us step out into the light, right? And we can go back in history. Not only have Black women run, the enslaved quarters and the field, but also the big house, right? It was the Black woman who literally created the schedule, carried it out, and raised everyone's children. And that has trickled down to day. So I definitely agree with Nicole. It's at this point, it's ingrained in our DNA to nurture and to teach and to care for and to guide and to protect and to uplift everyone and all things around us without expecting that in return, because it was never offered, never given, and often taken and stolen away from us. So absolutely consensus, I have to agree. And that's on a general level. That's really the point I want to get across, because I find this conversation always devolves because people are thinking individualistically. And well, I love my mom and my sisters and in my close circle, right? But when you see a Black woman you've never met before, right? Or when you're in the street, right, you give that same level of respect, love, and reverence to her. Many times it doesn't translate.
Yes, yeah, I agree with that too. Ms. Shawnee.
And I think that's very sad that it doesn't translate. I think a lot of people, and I'm not just speaking in reference to Black men, but I think a lot of people see Black women as just, we can do everything. That strong Black woman syndrome is like, we're not supposed to be soft. We're not supposed to have struggle. We're not supposed to experience pain. You see that in the medical field. It's just so many different instances where we're expected to always be the savior. Even in politics, it's like we're always supposed to be the one that steps into, to help everybody. But when it's time for us to help ourselves, it's like, oh, wait a minute, what are you doing? That's like a form of rebellion or something, which I think is very sad, because a lot of us women are getting to that point where we're like, okay, enough is enough. We want to focus on ourselves. But that doesn't mean that we don't love Black men. That doesn't mean that we don't love our other humans. That just means that we love ourselves before everybody else. And I don't think anything is wrong with that. And I do agree with everything he said in that speech.
Mm. And that's so good that you guys make that, point, because there's so many different ways to look at that. And I appreciate that too, Shawnee, that you added that it doesn't mean that we don't love, our, Black men. But we do, and everyone has to do this. You do have to have love for yourself first, and take care of you first before you can take care of someone else. And so I think that that's really important, to point that out. It doesn't have to be one or the other. And that's been coming up a lot lately, is that a lot of times, people in our community, sometimes we think that it has to be one or the other, but two things can be true at the same time. And so that's important to remember. My perspective on it is I agree. And I think it's the protection part has stuck out, and it's come up, several times. It's like, oh, okay, what is this stuff about protection? And what I have learned is that a lot of males see protection as protecting you from the external, dangers, but fail to realize that there are internal dangers as well. And what it means to protect is not only you protecting me physically from someone running, up on me, or breaking into the home, or, someone violating me, but the internal, dangers of protecting me emotionally and spiritually. And in talking to, sharing that with my male friends that have asked that question, and our associates, I was able to break it down because I never thought about it before. I think some of those things of what we are asking for or that we need, a lot of times are not, we're not able to vocalize it or articulate exactly what it is, but we know that something is wrong. And so I think it's really important that this conversation, came up, and that these gentlemen felt comfortable enough to ask, so that they can get more of an understanding of what does that mean as far as feeling protected and, feeling respected. And so, yeah, so thank you so much, for answering those questions. Give me just one moment. So our next question is more so about, about how is the Black family affected by that lack of value for Black women? How does the lack of value for Black women within their relationships affect the family dynamics? And so I'm going to kind of jump around. So Nikki, if you could share with us, how does that affect the Black family? Affect the family dynamics.
Sure. I think, this is such a great question, right? We could literally be here for hours processing and analyzing this one. And I think it really has to go to the point of internalizing that Black women are objects, right? And so to your point about protection, V, I think that Black men and whomever else steps into that role of protecting Black women have been conditioned to view Black women as property, right? As objects. So it would make sense if someone is going to run up in your home or your car or try to take from you, you would need to defend that, because we defend our property, we defend our objects. And to your point about what about that emotional protection, right? Well, that has to come with seeing a Black woman's personhood, with seeing her as a whole human being. And I feel that Black women's personhood has historically always been placed in hyperbolic sort of expressions. There is absolutely no emotion, which we know about us as human beings, right? That we have vast emotional experiences, and almost every other identity, race, ethnicity is able to express the full gamut of their emotions. But let a Black woman cry and she's hysterical. Let a Black woman be indignant or upset at her treatment and she's the angry sapphire, right? And so on and so forth. We're hypersexualized. We're called hysterical, crazy, angry, right? There is no way, or rather no allowance for the Black woman to step into our full personhood, to explore our value as individual human beings, and then to share that with others. And so if we're engaging in family dynamics and family structures and partnering and co-creating, right? What is that teaching the child? No matter the child's gender identification, right? You are teaching them that the vessel, again, object, that brought them into this world is only that, an object that is there to do and provide for and take care of, and bet not have no talk about it, and definitely bet not have no feelings about it. So now these children are growing up either internalizing that if the mother is in their same image, or seeking that when they go out and date a woman who believes that she's an object. I know I'm part of many different conversations, and really what people cannot wrap their heads around now is this identity of a submissive woman, right? But we don't really know what that means. And we don't really speak about the complement that if you want a submissive woman, you have to exert dominance, right? What it is not power over, it is power with. That submission and dominance are complementary and go hand in hand. That's totally misunderstood because, again, a submissive woman is an object to be told what to do, how to do it, and not have a mind or thought of her own. And that is what is being taught generationally, which keeps these same this same discord again and again, generation after generation, and I think just further emasculates the Black man, objectifies the Black woman, and creates trauma in the children.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that was deep. And yes, this is a conversation that could go because it is so deep. But we definitely have to consider that, first you have to see that person as a human. You have to see the woman as a human and not an object. So
Right.
I appreciate that. It's 100% spot on. Shawnee.
Yeah, and I think the reason why in a lot of homes the woman is not seen as a person is because the father is missing a lot of the times, especially in our community. The man is the foundation for a family, and if he is missing, he's a vital part of the family. So if he's missing, the woman has to step into that masculine energy. She has to turn into something that she's not. And a lot of us have turned into people that we're not supposed to be, because we are trying to fill that void. We're trying to build this family by ourselves that we necessarily shouldn't have had to do. And it's not necessarily just Black men's fault, because it goes back generations, of stealing our men and doing things to our men in front of us to just cause discord in the Black family. This has been an issue. Yeah, this has been an issue for generations. So, the value of the Black woman is sad, that a lot of the times we're not seen as valuable, but it's also not necessarily our fault. And I'm not necessarily putting the blame on Black men either, but I am saying we needed them in the home to establish that. It's really, really hard for women. And I'm speaking for myself. I'm a single mother. It's hard for me to be the mother and also be like the disciplinarian, the firm one. It's hard for me to find that balance. But yet, if I had a partner, then it could be balanced a little bit better. And I think a lot of the households don't have that balance. So that's what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And I could see how that could be difficult, because you want to make sure that your child has everything that they need. But, when you don't have that help or have that, other side, then you're like, okay, do I need to be mom and dad? And it's just like, well, no, it's impossible. You can't be mom and dad, and I believe that, you have to be very careful, because you don't want your child to be robbed of both, right? If they don't have the father, they don't have that, masculine input, or that structure and those things. And then you, as a woman, decide, okay, I'm going to be a little bit more, masculine to, make sure my kid, my boys don't go to jail. I got to be hard on them. I got to be tough. And then you kind of relinquish that, femininity, that that energy or that softness, that nurturing, side of yourself, then your child is robbed of both, and I don't know if women think about that when they're, trying to raise a bunch of kids by themselves, it seemed very difficult, but you have to be very present, to remind yourself, wait, hold on, I still need to give them this part as well. So yeah, Miss Nicole, what are your thoughts on how it affects the family dynamics?
It affects it in yeah, it affects it affects it in every single way.
Yeah.
And I mean, I agree with Shawnee, when it comes to raising children alone, especially if they're boys. I mean, you know, a mother has no choice but to step into her masculine energy, like, because when they turn a certain age, their testosterone starts kicking in. They start trying to test you and buck up
Right.
at you, and you have to rear up. And I remember when my son, when he was turning into a teenager, he was getting real testy, and I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And I just wanted to say, go to your dad. Let me call your dad. I'm calling your dad. And his dad told me, he said, look, you need to handle this. You need to handle him, because I'm not always going to be there. I can't always be there. And he needs to know that he can't play with you either.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's tough when you're raising children, and you can't always remain in your soft, feminine energy. You have to crack the whip sometimes. But as far as women being disrespected in the home, it just leads to a perpetuation of disrespect to women, period. The children, they're not going to respect their mother. They're not going to respect other young girls. They're not going to respect other women, teachers,
Okay.
any type of authority.
Technical difficulties here. Looks like well,
Uh-oh.
You can't hear me?
jump back in once.
Can you hear me or no?
I can hear you. I think V is frozen.
Oh, okay.
Am I?
Yeah, I think
back on?
be.
I'm not seeing on the screen here.
But yeah, as I was saying, it does. It just trickles. It trickles down. It's just a trickle down effect.
Hello?
I mean, everything that we've been dealing
Are you
with.
guys there?
Yeah, we're here.
Okay. Well, I froze it. It looked like I was seeing, different things on the screen. Sorry about this. So Nicole, did you get to finish your point?
Yeah, I was wrapping it up. Yep. I was just saying how it's a trickle down effect, when there's disrespect in the home, it's just going to trickle down, into generations. And, somebody has to stop it. Somebody has to stop it.
Yeah.
It's our job. I think it's our job, as families. And I think we got away from it takes a village, you know. We all have gotten away from that mindset, and we should be coming together instead of everybody has their little thing over here, they have their little thing over here, they have, it needs to be more community based thinking. And I feel like that's how we build the foundation for families, and that's how we get the respect that we deserve. That's how the fathers get the respect that they deserve, and the grandmothers. And you see it all the time in Asian households. They have that type of community within their families. And I hope that one day, we can get back to that as Black people.
Definitely.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that, Shawnee. Because to that point, whose example, right, are we trying to live up to? We have to understand that as Black people, our indigenous culture was stripped from us, and we were force-fed a foreign culture. This is not the makeup of our family dynamics. This is not what is natural and organic to us. To your point, the village, right? And I believe in that quote, the fault is not ours, but the responsibility is.
Yes.
The more and more aware we become, the more and more we're starting to notice these things, the responsibility to change, to grow, to evolve, to ascend becomes ours, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you are, that single parent, reach out, and you have, male children, where's the basketball coaches? Right? Who are his teachers in school? Where are the men in the neighborhood? Where are the uncles, the grandfathers, the friends, the male friends that we trust around our children? Seek that. And we so often have this conversation for interracial families. I've been doing a lot of research into that, about how white, Caucasian, European mothers really have to seek out Black churches or Black after school programs for their children because they cannot teach them what it means to be Black. I believe women cannot teach children how a father would. So where are we going to go find that influence? Of course, vetting them ourselves, right? Before you get anywhere near my child. But even, do we have the skills to do that? Do we have the skills to be able to have discernment and observe where that masculine energy should come from, where that masculine individual is who believes in protecting the family, who would be a good influence? Do we even know how to do that ourselves to be able to provide that to our children? So we definitely need to get back to what's indigenous to us and realize that although the fault may not be ours, the responsibility definitely is.
I agree with that 1,000%, 1,000%. And you touched on something about identifying, like being able to identify, where the masculine energy should come from. And that's why I think a lot of women, need to take more time for ourselves. And I see it happening with people. And I think, when we step away from being that, super Black woman, and we really just focus on ourselves and take time to go to therapy. And if you don't want to go to therapy, get into your spiritual work, or just get into who you are, figure that out outside of everything else that the society wants you to do. Then you become more in tune with yourself, and then you're able to feel certain things, and then you're able to identify certain energies within other people, and you can see who resonates with you and your family, who will be beneficial for you and your family, and who you can share those experiences with, because it really does take a community, and it really is amazing people out here. I'm looking at you guys, you seem amazing. So it's like, we just also have to do that self-work before we're out here just seeking all of these outside forces. And I think sometimes we're always looking for a handout as Black people, instead of just working on ourselves first, and then, asking for help.
Mm-hmm.
That savior complex, thinking somebody is
Yes.
supposed to come save us.
Yes.
Or even disruptive entitlement. And V, I see you back. We want to welcome you, but
Yeah.
a good thread here. We're entitled with everything that has happened to the Black community historically. Please, we are entitled, right? But don't let that entitlement become poisonous and become negative to where you feel like you don't have to do anything because it's all supposed to be handed to us, right? We still have to do that work. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, absolutely. And thank you so much for holding it down. I had to move around. This internet is acting crazy today. So thank you so much for holding it down and continuing the discussion. I would like to move to our next question about is the question, what do you bring to the table disingenuous? And whoever would like to jump in and answer that question, you hear?
Yeah, it was hard to hear you. I think you
Yeah.
said
It's not just me. Yeah, you're a little bit hard to hear. I was following V, but your audio was choppy.
Can you hear me now?
You're still the
A
same
little
audio.
bit better.
Well, so the question is the question about what do you bring to the table? Is that question disingenuous?
What to the table?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what do
Is
you bring to the table?
disingenuous?
Off the bat, I'll say no. right? I'm all about validating first. We are all human beings with our different levels of socializing and conditioning and experiences, okay? Because I know what you're trying to say. So
Mhm.
is it disingenuous? No, because I know what information you're trying to get. But I chuckle at it. I think it's a day late and a dollar short, because the table should not be the meeting place. The table is the foundation, it's the building place. So you should have had that conversation before we got to the table, because
Mhm.
there's a reason we're both here, right? Obviously, we can discern the table, we know what to do with it. Let's go build. But it's
Mm-hmm.
that communication piece, it's that vetting, it's that getting to know one another, it's that discernment. That's where those questions should have been asked and answered. Not after
Mhm.
he done already moved in, or she done already moved in and got pregnant and had your child, or your mama said you better marry her because I'm not going to be a grandma out of wedlock. And now all of a sudden you're waking up like, what do you bring to this relationship? Like,
Right.
it's a day late and a dollar short. We have to
Mhm.
learn how to communicate far before we get to, this metaphorical table.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I agree with that. I'll just jump in. I agree with that as well, but I think women, as women, this is a part of us knowing our value as women and stepping into that power, because we're honestly the ones in control. And once we know that, it's a game changer, because those are the questions, and we should be vetting these potential partners as well. Like, we should be observing them, they should be observing us, before we even have any kind of intimacy or anything of that nature. You should have already peeped what homeboy was doing, you should have already peeped what homegirl was doing, you know what I mean? Like, but I think sometimes, because of the lack of love within, we can jump into situations before we do that homework. And I could be honest, I have done that before and it has failed. Like, it was horrible, and I'll never do it again. But I think a lot of the times that's what the issue is. You know what I mean? Like, there's a need, some kind of void within, and a lot of people, they're expecting their partner to fill that void for them, whether it's financial, whether it's emotional support, whatever. They're looking for something that they should have already been providing for themselves. And again, that goes back to knowing your value and, like, being okay and aware with who you are and where you are in your life, because certain times you shouldn't be dating if you're not able to manage, another person. Then, you know sit out, sit on the bench for a little while. It's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, so I just think that takes a little bit of work within ourselves that we have to do before we even get into a situation. You should have already figured that out.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's funny because I nobody has ever asked me that question. Has anybody asked you that question? Literally, what do
No.
you bring?
I've had one man ask me.
Really? Okay.
Just one. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
No,
It was
I have
serious.
I've never been asked that question. So when I hear people talking about this, I'm like, does that really happen?
Right.
You know, because exactly like you said, Shawnee, there has to be a period of observation. If you should already know what I bring to the table before you even come talking to me. You should already know that, because you've watched me in spaces, you watched my Instagram, you Googled me, you've come to my place of this, like you just know what I'm about. And if you do, then now you know what I bring to the table, but yet I don't know what you bring to the table. So now you come to me and you know what I'm bringing. So now I'm going to make you wait so I can observe you, and I need to see what you bringing to this table.
Come on, Nicole.
So, first I think that women should not be offended by this "what do you bring to the table" thing, unless you're shook by it. Like, are you shook by it? Do you not have anything to bring to the table? Because I'm certainly not going to defend myself. Well, I bring this and this and this, and I wouldn't even answer the question. It's a ridiculous question to me. So I think that women need to first focus on building their own table. Build whatever it is that you're building. Women need to be in building. Don't wait for a man to come along into your life and then you start building. You need to be building. You need to be building something. And then he had, you building some things over here. He's building some things over here. And now you can put this together and you can build something even bigger. That's how I think the story should go, But I think that, too many women are just sitting back like a damsel in distress or so and waiting for somebody to come save them, or to come help them, or to tell them what to do. And they get caught in this situation now where you have men who are, misogynistic, and they're in this toxic masculine energy, and they're like, well, what you gonna do? Well, blah blah blah. They're coming to you this crazy kind of way. Whereas if you already had something built, they could never even step to you like that, because they need to be telling you what they're going to add to your life.
Right, because you're aware at that point of your own value. And so it's just like, well, let me help you, in this situation. If you're asking me, what will be my contribution, or what are my thoughts of how a household is ran, how I will, contribute to this household. Okay, then we can talk about that, just to sometimes, when something can come off offensive, it's best to ask questions. And that takes a lot of that, extraness out of the equation, so that you don't come off or get in a situation where you're both getting defensive with each other. So yeah, absolutely. Are you guys able to hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you sound great. Look great too.
What's really interesting, and what I'm seeing in these newer conversations, is that low key, Black men don't know. So when I hear them asking that question, which is why initially I said, no, it's not disingenuous, because I see what you're trying to do. Black men do not know. So there were some Black men, right, who were raised without a father, were not taught, how to court a woman, how to pursue a woman, what to look for in a woman, were raised by single mothers who, danced 1 foot in femininity, 1 foot in masculinity. They were the sole parents. So you grow up with a bit of resentment, right? As adults, we're all like, our parents were so hard on us, oh, they messed me up, I'm angry, right? So all of that anger is directed to this Black woman. You haven't seen your mother's value as a person. She's objectified in your mind. All of these failed relationships and situationships and one-night stands, you don't know what the value of women are.
Right.
A woman's personhood looks like. So you're asking her to tell you. And the catch is, we don't know either. Some of us. And that's the thread here, right? Exploring your value. I feel like we said you should know your value, as if you know it, you got it, that's it. But we're still living, breathing humans, right? Who are going to grow and evolve into more experiences. So our understanding of self is going to change. So explore your value, because when you sit down to some points that were made and you have explored your value and you have a little bit of that foundation because you started building, you move different and your energy radiates differently. So you would never answer a question like that. I know, and I radiate that. And if you have not been vetting and observing and watching and discerning of me, then you don't know. And I don't have the time to wait to explain to you.
Right.
Really, I think that is the thread here. And of course, because Black women are the originators, the more we explore ourselves, self-care, knowing our value, expressing our value, we will teach our counterparts how to do the same. And they're going to become intimidated, right? That's the trigger word. But they're going to say, I can't even approach her. She's out of my league. What is she doing? Why is she moving this way? Oh, women are teachers and nurturers. Well, I did yoga, I did meditation, or I did counseling, or I went on a 6-month trek through Europe. And the men are going to hear that. How can I do now to get you to call me back? Because they're pursuers, right? You're out of my league right now. What did you do to make me have to step up? And I believe it's not about being in control. I don't believe women are in control. I don't want to be in control. I love my femininity. I don't want that, right? But I know my power. And it's power with, not power over. Black men and Black women have power. We just utilize it differently. We
Right.
express it differently. And when we realize what our resting place is and move in that way, we will only attract that which vibrates on that same level to us. And the ones that don't will immediately, oh, you're not even, and keep it moving, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I think with that question, a lot of times, because I have observed and I've seen, some people get really upset when they hear that question. And sometimes it is jumping to conclusions. Sometimes a person is being condescending, and that is a little that can be triggering for some folks. And in other situations, they really don't know. Because I have actually been in a conversation with, multiple people, and it was a genuine question. But some folks, because they're kind of got a little bit of resentment or a little bitterness from the things that they have experienced, then they automatically think, oh, this person is trying to, like talk down to me, or what do you do? This and that. And it's like, that's not even what's going on right now. And so, as that conversation, it'll come up and, sometimes that is the mood there, is to be negative and to make a person feel a certain kind of way, like list out for me all the things that you bring to the table. But anytime I've gotten that question, or if I heard it came up, or if we're on Clubhouse or something like that, and there's a conversation about that, I think it's easy for, to bring, not to bring, but to explain, well, this is what, I contribute to the home, to family, to my community. And, but as you said, earlier, Nikki, you should vibrate that, it should be seen already. So if it's a question, we might need to have another conversation. Like what's going on here if we don't already know that we're at the table? So it's just like, how did I get here?
Right.
Well, and people lie. People tell you anything. People will say and tell you anything, especially, well, I'm not going to say especially either one, but humans lie. Humans tell
Right.
you whatever they want. They think that you want to hear, so they can get what it is that they want and need from you. So a woman can say, "Oh, I cook, I clean, I give you sex every day. I'm a hustler. I got it going on." I mean, and a man can say, men lie on their money every day. I mean, I'm balling, I can help you do this and that and that and this. It's not until you see what somebody is producing that you
Right.
will know who they are. You have to watch them. You have to see them. You have to observe their behavior. That is the only way to know somebody. So that question is, it's frivolous, really.
Right.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Okay. So, this actually is like a bonus. Well, it's a bonus question, but I'm throwing it in the middle. Um, and having a conversation a little bit earlier, gentleman had said, do you value what they are versus who they are? And so I thought that was really good, because I feel like we can look at it both ways. We can look at it, let me say, if you have to announce all that, more than likely you don't have it like that. That is very true. When you got to put it out there and showboat, it's just like, okay,
Right.
all right. But yeah, so looking at this on two sides of it, do you value a person, or the persons in your life, for what they are or who they are? And also you can answer it, have you been valued for what you are or who you are? And I believe what he was explaining is that the what you are is more so about what you do, for people, versus, or the things that you have. And the who you are is like who you actually are. And so I thought that was a pretty interesting question. So, Shawnee, I want to ask you first. What do you think about that? And answer it however you want to answer it. If you want to answer it based on, do you believe that you're valued for what you are or who you are, or if you want to answer it, do you value people for who they are, or what they are?
I think it's a mixture of both, to be honest with you. And
Mhm.
I say that because being an artist, a lot of the times I find that I make connections with people, and they may not necessarily are looking to me as for who I am. They're looking to me as to what I can do, or what I can do for them. So you have to be very discerning, you know.
Mhm.
Now, for instance, I think it really depends on what your intention is. Like, if I am looking for business, something, a business connection or whatever, I'm going to look at both. I'm one of those people that only wants to work with people that, resonate with me and make me feel good. But I also want to make sure that that person is qualified, so
Mhm.
I think it really is depending on your intention and what exactly you are trying to gain. And sometimes it may just be a genuine connection. It may just be companionship. And that's cool. So then you're really going to be looking at the person for who they are. But if it's a business type of, relationship, then you may be looking at them a little bit differently. So it's really depending on, what your intention is. But in reference to myself, I've noticed that it has come across as both, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah, and I do see how you can look at it in different ways, especially if it is something that's business. Sometimes you're just like, I don't really care who you are. I really care about what it is that you can bring, to the company, blase, blase, blase. And not feel a kind of way, feel any kind of way if a person doesn't really, care about who you are, but that you can come and produce because it's a business relationship. But just like you said, for you, when you're dealing with your dreams and your vision, and making that, hopefully one day your income, the way that you provide, you do want to be around people that you feel like you resonate with them, who they are, that they're a good person, a good quality, I'd say ethical, but a person of integrity,
Right.
ethical, you know, and so it would look differently. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing. Miss Nick.
Um, so I was listening to the two of you talk, and really thinking about my work in counseling and my work in human design. That really inspires me now in the services I provide, because who we are most
Mhm.
definitely informs what we do and how
Right.
we do. So that should be the first thing we value. The first thing we seek is, who are you? Because that will tell me what you're doing, why, and how. Right. But for me, externally, the answer is yes. I value others for what they are and who they are. And I'll use my partner as an example. He's a Black man. He's 6'2" or some odd. I just know, he's taller than me. He not only picks heavy things up and puts them down, but he also puts them together. The man speaks the language of IKEA, right? I don't touch the door handle. I don't touch a gas pump. I definitely don't touch the garbage unless it's to put it next to the door for him to take out, right? Those are things that he does. He's a provider. He's a protector. And I value all that, because
Right.
that's what I need that to be handled while I'm focusing on the things that I need to handle. But I also value him for who he is. And
Mhm.
that's when we get into the work of relationships, because that's
Mhm.
not always easy. Okay. You came to me checking off the list of what I needed you to do. Now, who you are, that comes with some set of emotional skills, self-awareness, understanding how to relate to other people. Now that's the work, right? So that's an up and down. However, I value that work. I value that journey. On the receiving end, as a Black woman, I found in my personal experiences, I am much more valued for who I am than what I am.
Mhm.
Actually, they see me as this alternative, pierced up, tattooed Black woman,
Uh-huh.
and assumptions come, and the negative energy comes. I'm telling you, I'm an intuitive empath. I feel it, and I keep my distance. But as they get to know me, all of a sudden that shifts, and they
Mhm.
understand now what it is they're seeing and why I do the things I do, and they want me close to pull for my energy.
Right.
So much more who I am, once it's explored, is more readily accepted than what I am. Because when I get on my podium and I start talking about Black women and how we're the most disrespected and unprotected, and civil rights stop at Black men and blah 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 blah, that's when I get the shrinking back. Or when I talk about myself as a bisexual or pansexual queer individual, oh, that's when they start shrinking back, right? Or I'm teaching and educating about polyamory or consensual ethical non-monogamy. All of a sudden, it's whoa, she one of them. She the weird one. Or you want to be single forever? You never gonna get a man because I'm not checking off your pretty boxes of what I'm supposed to be. Oh, but you want to hire me to help you in your relationships. You just don't want to be in a relationship with me. Right? So that's been my personal experience.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. That's deep. Nicole. What do you think, Nicole?
So I think when it comes to business, it's definitely what I am that it's what I am and what I do that brings my clients to me. And it's who I am that keeps them coming back. So, it's what I do. They need something from me. So they come to me so I can give them a service. And then once we start to talk and they feel my energy and, we start to, connect, that's what keeps them coming back, that relationship. So it ends up becoming, who I am, but it starts off as what I am, which I think, just like Nikki said just now, it initially is what you are, what you can do. What can you do for me? Right? We all need our needs. We all have needs and we need them met. But then once they can provide that, then we start breaking it down. It's like, okay, well, who really are you? Who are you? Now, when it comes to a relationship, I think that I want to know who you are first, and then I want to know what you can do for me. Because I mean, if you're a handsome, well-abled man, then I know you're going to be able to do something for me, right? But who are you? What is your character? I need to dive into some deep waters to see what you're really made of. Before I can know if what you can do for me, if I even want you to do anything for me.
Right.
So that's how it works for me.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm totally like that. If the character ain't right, I don't care. I don't care about anything else. Yeah. Because it just doesn't matter. It won't mean anything, if the character is not right, because you don't trust. You can't have an authentic, healthy relationship with that person, whether it's your friend, family, romantic partner. You just can't. So totally agree with you, ladies. All right. And so next, what would be your message to Black women surrounding understanding their values? So for those that don't really understand their value, there is a lot of that. It's a lot of that. And it breaks my heart all the time, because I do believe women are my purpose in ministry. But it's hard to see. It's hard to see beautiful, young, person, just a person in general, that has so much potential, but doesn't see themselves, and other people are able to see that light or that dopeness in them, but they can't see it. What would be, Shawnee, what would be your message to a person who is struggling with that, understanding the value?
I would say definitely take time for yourself. I think a lot of the times, like I was saying before, a lot of people, we go outside of ourselves looking for resources and the answer, when the answer is already within us, and sometimes you have to sit with that. Sometimes you have to sit by yourself. Sometimes you need to go and seek counsel in any way that you think would benefit you. But first, you need to acknowledge that you even have an issue, and sometimes that comes later on in life. Sometimes it's not, in your teens. Sometimes it's not in your early 20s. Sometimes it's in your 30s, and that's okay. And just removing that shame from not knowing, because a lot of women didn't have that maternal support that they needed, you know?
Yeah.
And that's just a fact in our community. So just, taking that time and just being aware of self and just
Hmm.
being okay with being alone for a while, I think is very, very, very powerful, because once you know yourself, once you
Hmm.
are self-aware, once you know your power, once you know your value, once you know what you bring to the table, it's like can't nobody tell me nothing.
Yeah.
It's like not in an arrogant way, but just like a confident way. You know what I mean? Because then that's going to make you want to empower your next sister over here, or your children, um whatever the case may be. But I think taking that time for self,
Mhm.
whenever you start to see there is an issue, and it may take time. It may
Right.
take time. But I think it's also important, if we see another woman doing something that we know is not what she should be doing. It's okay to speak up and be like, girl, baby girl,
Yeah.
you
It's
know, it, you
yeah.
know, you should be doing better than that. It's okay to do that. And that goes back to my point of it takes a village.
Right.
We
Yeah.
can't just be all wrapped up in our own individual worlds. It's okay to support each other in this
Right.
journey of our life, because we need each other.
Definitely, definitely. And that also speaks to accountability and holding, having those people around you, that village that support you and love you and that you are safe with, um, to hold you accountable. So yeah, I love that.
Mhm.
Um, Nikki Glaze. What would your message to someone struggling with that, or knowing their value or understanding their value?
Again, I agree. My message would be, it's not going to happen in 1 month, 1 year. It's going to take time. And there has to be a level of self-awareness, right? Taking time with self. And when we
Mhm.
take time with ourselves, what are we doing? Right. So we always, explore your value, spend time with yourself and do what? Um, so it's okay, because on my
Yeah.
journey, I've done that. My time with myself was pouring that glass of wine, or binge watching TV shows, or sleeping, or resting, right? Because as Black women, or women in general, we don't rest. And then I realized that I was still continually in the same cycles. So I realized, oh, I have to work with myself. I have to do the work. And that work looks like journaling, meditating, seeking counsel when your stuff comes up, because we're
Mm.
living in our bodies, right? So as Shoni said, become self-aware, not only mentally and emotionally, but physically. What are we doing when we're tense? And then questioning that, when we're alone, if that's where we're comfortable, why did I respond to my friend that way? Why did I
Mm.
respond to that guy who asked me for a date like that? Why did I
Right.
get mad with my family member? What did that touch for me? I've been walking around tense all day. Who triggered me? Where did that come from? I think we have a very elementary understanding that our families and society socializes us to believe things that may be untrue to ourselves.
Right.
But we never dive deeper into, okay, so let me remove all of these negative things that I've
Right.
internalized for my life to uncover what my truth is. We just stop and we just blame it. Oh,
Yeah.
mom had issues. She messed me up when I was growing up. My dad wasn't there, so of course I have this inner hatred for Black men, right? And you're gonna leave it there? The fault is not yours, but the responsibility is to work through that and uncover that. And that's what the work looks like. And it's not
Absolutely.
fun. But I also would suggest, where you feel affirmed, go there and take that work there and be open to receiving. So if you
Mm.
have a group of good girlfriends or whomever, and they always make you feel good, work with them. What do you see in me? What is it about me that keeps you loyal to me, that makes you love me?
Mm.
What do you think my areas of growth are? Where do I need to get together? Why do you think that? Throughout our relationships, how have I kind of hurt you? What can I do better? And then you'll start to build this awareness of how you interact with others, of how you, with all your stuff and all your conditioning and all of your work, how you interact with another, and you begin to understand your effect on other people. And that's where our value comes from. How are we interacting with and affecting other people? How valuable Well, I caution myself with saying how valuable, because just by our birthright, every human being is worthy, deserving, and valid, right? But to the level of expression, when we interact with another person, what kind of mark and impact are you leaving on them? What kind of mark and impact are you leaving on a space, on a company, on a YouTube, online, in the grocery store? You start to see how you affect those around you, especially once you're healing and doing that work. Oh, you start to exude that. People smell it on you. You look different. You're glowing now. What are you doing? That's when you realize what value you bring to others.
So
Amen.
good. That's so good. Nicole, what are your thoughts on that?
What's the question again, V?
Oh, no problem. What would you say to someone, anyone, honestly, but what would your message be to a Black woman surrounding understanding their value?
Yeah, so just exactly what the other women were saying, it all starts with self. It all starts with self. Everything starts with self. So, also it takes time, just like Shawnee was saying, it takes time. And you have to be very patient with the process. Because it's not going to happen in 2 months. It may not happen in 2 years. I know that when I was going through a healing transformational state, I was in so much pain. I wanted it to be over as soon as possible. I wanted to be healed and not feeling pain and just better. But that pain was not going away. It wasn't going to go away until it went away. And I had to just give it time. And I've also studied Reiki. I'm also Reiki certified, so I work with a lot of energy, primarily on myself. And and I also have Reiki treatments done on myself. And at the point during my healing, maybe a year later, where I thought for sure I did the work, because I did work. I was doing the work, and I thought for sure I was healed and I was ready to go. And then I had a session done, and she was like, "Your heart is broken." And I'm like, "Still?" So and somebody told me, this guy, he said, he lost his wife. And it was so painful for him. And, he had to really just give himself grace and be very gentle with himself along the healing process and along the grieving process, because there's really no timeline for it. Healing has no timeline, and it's not linear. It doesn't go like this and like this. You're not here and then you're here. You go up and down, and you're swirling around, you go back, you come forward. Life is not a straight line. So we have to give ourselves a lot of grace. And, if you don't know what to do, then do nothing. Just don't do anything. Stand still, hold still, just hold still, hold tight, and, ask for direction, ask for guidance, just ask, God, spirit, whoever it is that you believe in is there and ready to assist when you ask. And you will get the answers, and you will get the healing, and it will come, but you just need to be patient and trust the journey.
Absolutely. Trust the journey. I know sometimes it's hard. You just like, especially if you're a little control freak, you're like, no, I need to know. I need to have my hands all in it. It's just like, if you don't sit down, I know God got to say that to me sometimes. Sit your tail down, sit down, you're doing too much. I've heard that several times, but absolutely. So with all of that has been said, it is so important. We've mentioned that, someone had mentioned that, and I think I even touched on that a little bit too, about safe spaces. And it's so important to be able to recognize safe spaces. So what are some of the green flags to help you all recognize a safe space? Anyone can jump in.
I'll jump in. For me as an empath, I take my time when it comes to recognizing safe spaces. I'm very observant. I'm watching and paying attention to body language. I'm paying attention to how people communicate with other people. And I'm very observant.
Mm,
I think again back to Nicole's point of being patient. Sometimes we are just so thirsty
mm,
for our water to be quenched, that we're looking for resources to fill that cup. And you need to be very, very discerning when it comes to that, because not everybody needs to know your story.
mm,
So, you need to take time. You need to take time and to really observe, So I'm really aware of my surroundings. And I'm really paying attention to how people communicate with other people, online and in person.
mm,
I'm paying attention to all of that, because if I see something that doesn't resonate with me, or if I feel something in my body, I'm so aware in my body. If a person is off, my body will just be like, no, we're not safe here.
mm.
But that took time for me to grow that skill as well. But yeah, just being very observant, I think, and being patient enough to observe people and see
Right.
if they're a good fit for you is important.
Okay. Awesome. Nicole, what are your green flags? What are some green flags for you to recognize a safe space?
It's funny. I think we're all energy readers
Mhm.
here, and if the vibe is off, you know. Yeah, for me, it's all energy. I interact energetically more than I'm interacting verbally.
Mhm.
Um, so the safe space feels safe. It
Right.
feels safe.
Right.
Um, and I don't know what else to say about that. It just feels safe because, like I said, I don't go by what people say. People tell you anything.
Mhm.
Um, you know, um, I've even had people tell me, I'm here for you, or reach out. Let me know if you need anything. Blah
Mhm.
blah blah. They don't mean that.
Right.
They don't mean it. So it's all about, are you really paying attention to me? Are you paying attention to what it is that I'm saying when I'm talking? You know,
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
so it's a feeling.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny that you say that because that is true. Sometimes, we're so programmed, we'll just say, "Oh, how are you doing?" when you really don't have time to listen, and you really don't care. You just saying it because you're so programmed like to do so. But there are some folks who are really, they're like, anything you need, I'm here for you, and they mean it. And so just as some folks are programmed to just say things, sometimes we're programmed to not believe it. You know what I mean? And to think, oh no, they don't really mean it, when there are some people who actually will stand in the gap. You know what I mean? And so that just kind of jumped out, when you had said that, because sometimes we don't take them up on their offer when they're like, just call me. You call me anytime. You're like, oh, okay, okay. And then you're like, dang, I really wish I did know that was
Well,
that was.
usually I will. Like, I'll test that theory. I will go on and test that. I'm going to test it. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me call you. Let me call you up. When I'm down, because
Yeah.
see, when we're always strong and we
Mhm.
look like we got it all together, we don't have the option to be down. We don't have the option to need help. When I go to some of my girlfriends, seriously, and if they see this, they might take offense to it. But if I go to a lot of my friends that I have, and I'm, you
Yeah.
know weak,
You
they're
can't
like,
be.
whoa,
It's
whoa.
like, no, you're supposed to be strong because we need you.
Yeah,
Like,
they're like, whoa, like what's going on with you? And I'm like, I'm a human too. I'm
right.
I think that's definitely been something I've run into as well. It's hard to find because we are so energetically powerful, it's hard to find other people like us that
Right.
know how to help us, because we're usually the ones that are like uplifting everybody else, you know. But I have experienced that same thing, and I
Right.
think that's why settings like this
Mhm.
are so important, because then we can like get to know other people who have that same type of energy that we have and that same type of mindset. So it's like, if you call me, I'm gonna talk to you. You can tell V, like me and V will talk for like 2-3 hours. You know what I
Yep.
mean? So it's like, once you find that sisterhood, um,
Right.
it's a powerful thing. It's a powerful thing. Goes back to, I told you, it takes a village. I'm gonna keep
Really
saying
help me
that.
finding the tribe. It is so random because just like, you guys are stating, we've had those different experiences, but when you find that person that, you connect with, and it's just like, oh, we speak the same language. It's just like, oh, this is so good. It's so good. And stuff. So, you might want it more, but it's just like, I'm just grateful when I have those opportunities, just like connecting with each of you. That's what it was. That's what I felt. And I was just like, oof, I love when this happens. Because now, you all are able to interact and, get to know each other and build, further. And it's people who are like-minded, people who are, of the same likeness in their energy, positive, powerful women. So I absolutely love the fact that we all got to come together. Nikki, what would you say about the green flags for safe spaces?
Sure. It's actually interesting. I was just reading a thread, I think it was on Instagram or something, about the ways in which our bodies physically and biologically respond to crisis and trauma over time. And
Mhm.
how, say, it was, what does peace look like to you, right? In relationships and spaces. And often safety, the green flags look like red. And the example was given of intimate partner violence, right? Or domestic violence. And how, if you are in a healthy or safe relationship that is quiet, or no voices are raised, you have someone peering into you, asking you questions, that can create PTSD of the honeymoon phase of violence. And then it's not to be trusted. Because why is this person so focused on me and asking me these questions? What if I say the wrong thing? Is that going to be held against me later? Right? Our bodies unconsciously react and respond. That's why it's called a trigger. If we were aware of it, it wouldn't be hairline triggers, right? And
Mhm.
so, for as far as identifying safe spaces, my answer to that would be consistency.
Mhm.
Any space, person, situation, company, business, thing that consistently affirms you, makes you feel good,
Mhm.
relaxes your nervous system, is a safe space for you.
Absolutely. I agree with that totally. That consistency. And it means so much, to me, because like we've heard, Nicole said, people will tell you anything. They will tell you anything. And if you don't verify that,
Right.
and that look different, for different folks, but if you don't verify that, then you won't really know, if it's real. And so that consistency, a person, continuing to show up, continuing, I always say, clock in, you got to do that every day, And so when that person shows up for you in that way and they consistently do that, that, lets you know, even for those that are broken and struggling, then it's, you start to gain that trust, in that person. You start to see, now I don't see everything is red, but I see, oh, that is a green happy flag there.
If it's yellow, right? I listen, I'm not the one. I'm not gonna sit here and coat everything with good vibes and high positivity and great feelings.
Yeah.
This journey, like Nicole said, is tumultuous. Okay.
Mhm.
It's not always gonna be fun. And
Right.
even if you meet a good girlfriend and you vibe positively and everything is great, what happens when you have your first rub? How strong is that relationship? Can you
Right.
go to them and ask them for help and receive it without rejecting it, right? Because you know better, or they're not going to do it the way that you do. So now you arguing with the same person you just asked for help. Can you
Right.
pause? Right? It's gonna be work. I have my friend circle. We've been friends now for 20 plus years, and we stopped counting. So that's literally more than half of my life. We have been friends. And I've had that situation. We're all very powerful in our own right, but I am seen as a strong friend. And when I finally get to that point where I reach out and ask for help, they respond with, okay, we knew, we were waiting. Yeah, you
Oh,
need help. Sit down and let us pour into you. And I'm like, oh, you looked behind my veil and my curtain and you knew I was struggling, but we know you. We were going to come to you, say, how are you doing? I'm fine. Do you need anything? No, I got it. Right? So we had to sit back and wait for your behind to get so burdened down that you would reach out, and now we know exactly what to do to help you. And then I'm still struggling with that. I'm in a period of my life right now where I want to reach out first, because I've gotten to the place where I'm exhausted and, it's just emotionally heavy and it's literally disrupting my life. So I no longer want to and they tell me that all the time. Why'd you wait this long?
mm,
Wait till the fire burned down your house. You could have called us at the first sign of smoke. We were waiting.
mm,
Oh, I'm sorry about that. So that too is a balance, because that's that consistency as well. How
mm.
many times can someone tell you that they're going to be there for you before you actually believe them, before you make them show and prove it, before you allow them that chance? This journey is about taking the risk, right? It's being courageous and risking that maybe they are what they're about and giving them the opportunity to show you that again and again and again and again, because that's what builds that trust, reliability, dependency, and turns something from red to yellow to green. But we're not going to skip over that yellow phase.
Oh, yeah.
No, I got tested. Okay, for the 20th time you showed up, maybe it's green.
That's that cultivation process, cultivating that relationship. And
Yeah.
so, yes. Well, ladies, that was all of my questions. I truly appreciate you all and thank you for holding it down when I had my multiple internet issues. We got through it. And y'all held it down for me. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. At this time, I would like for you guys to handles how people can get in contact with you, any services that you provide. I know Ms. Shawnee, she had a show last week. Oh, yeah, on Wednesday, singing live at was it a nightclub?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, it looked like it was amazing. I wish I was in New York so I could check it out. But
It's okay. It's okay. There'll be other shows. But yeah, I'm everywhere in the internet streets as I am Shawnee. And my website is I am Shawnee. You'll get everything from my podcast, The Apothecary, to Soulfully Written Productions as well. Yeah, he just put it down right there. And I'm just so thankful again to be invited on this show. I love the girl chat. I love it. And I am so grateful, V, and as well HBCU Lounge Network for having me yet again. So thank you.
all right, and Miss Nikki, go ahead. And I know you mentioned it earlier, but if you wanted to just tell people your handle, how to get in contact with you, that would be great.
Sure. So again, I just want to say thank you, V, for inviting me on this platform and exposing me to the HBCU Lounge Network. I was unaware, but very happy this exists. I've had a blast here with all of you this evening. So I am Nikki Glaze. I am Nikki A. Glaze on all social media. There's also my link tree, which has links to literally everywhere that I am, and my services that I provide, whether it's education, counseling, life coaching, or human design readings. And if you are interested in human design and how I help the Black community uncover their value, my website is also www.yourmosaic, design.com. But you can also be directed there through that link tree that was just across the screen. So that would be the best link to find me everywhere.
Absolutely. And we do, we'll put the information into the playback and it'll also be on the here on the HBCU Lounge Network as well. So people can just click on it and find you guys. And Nicole, if you would like to share about any of your services and how to contact you, that would be great.
Sure. Again, my name is Nicole Lorenzetti. I am in the Raleigh-Durham area of North Carolina, and I have a skincare studio in Cary, North Carolina, and that website is pureaesthetics.com. And as I mentioned before, I'm also a licensed real estate broker. If you have any questions or need any help with real estate in the area, or if you're interested in investing, that is NicoleLaurenZetti.com. My social handles for Pure Aesthetics, it would be Pure Aesthetics USA on Instagram. And for Instagram, for my real estate, it is Selling Wake. And yeah, and thanks again, guys. I really had a great time. It's always a great time. We can get together with like minds. You know, it's hard to find like minds these days, you know, but it's a blessing when you come together and you can share and connect like we have. So thank you so much for having me. And it was great meeting you guys.
Likewise.
Absolutely. And thank you again, HBCU Lounge Network, for streaming us live here this evening. And thank you to the Queens. I really appreciate you all. It's been a great Sunday evening. And just thank you. And for everyone else, thank you so much for watching and sticking with us tonight. I know, we went a little over an hour, but this is good information. Good chat. And make sure to share with loved ones, friends. And till next time, we will see you soon. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.